Today, we're going to be meeting the challengers to the status quo in Oregon. And I want to say this, I know that some of us are in different camps for different candidates, but everyone here I'm declaring you an activist and a community educator. And a lot of people don't spend the time to come and hear these candidates, but you're going to do that. And so it's important that you think about what decision you're making for Oregon, and also so you're out there talking to your network and educating them about the things that you know about the candidates or the person that you end up supporting. It is my hope that we emerge from this, no matter what the result is. We're going to have one win through the primary, right? The good fight here in Oregon against the status quo that I believe is not serving Oregonians. I'm prepared. Okay, so I want to thank Western Liberty Network for, Richard, thanks for doing all this work every year to bring people together. Thank you to the gubernatorial candidates that I'm about ready to introduce for running for office. Thank you. And I've already kind of covered this, but thanks to all of you, because without you, without your messaging, without the work that we are going to do on the ground and talking with people and spreading the message, they can't do it without us. So thanks for being here. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about context. Richard covered it a little bit, but I think it's important that everyone know. WLN, as Richard mentioned, is a nonprofit. And so this is not a typical debate because we need to give everybody equal time. So our governor was asked to be here, and not only did she, I would like to tell you she declined, but she and her staff didn't even answer Richard. I think that's important to know. Now we're going to get on with it. Joining us today are the following candidates. Please go ahead and step up. I will say I have a microphone right there. Please don't step on it. It's right on the ground. Marion County Commissioner Danielle Bethell. Thank you for being here. State Representative Ed Diehl. You can take a bow. Yeah, take a bow. Former GOP gubernatorial nominee from 2010, Chris Dudley. Libertarian candidate Matt Rowe, former mayor of Coquille. Did I say Coquille right? Anyone? Coquille? Coquille.
Hey, are you an Oregonian?
It's like whenever people say, how do they call it? Oregon?
I don't know.
Yeah. I'm going to go over a little. I'm a libertarian too. We're always disruptive. We're going to do a couple things. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go through the candidates for a 1-minute intro. It's freestyle on their part, whatever they want you to know in 1 minute. Amy here is going to be holding up let me see how we have that down. Yellow is going to be when you have 30 seconds left. And then whenever it's 15 seconds left, she's going to hold the red just to help you. Okay? And we want to be fair. So we have 4 numbers here. So we're going to go in the number of order, 1 being first, and then on the second round.
Can you just go through that again? Because none of us were actually listening.
I'll do it again. Go through the number, pick your number, and then I'll explain.
Oh, okay.
Take one and pass it on.
You want me to hand him the bucket?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's brass. It's from my house.
Take the number and pass it on?
Yeah.
It's
You
like
want to go?
a weapon.
I almost want you guys to change seats after you get your numbers.
Last
I
one's
want to
for
get
me.
so confused.
Last one's whatever I want.
Yeah, that's for you, right?
Yeah, that's whatever I want. I wanted to give them the choice.
Okay, okay. So tell me what your number is. Open it up. Who's got one? You have one.
You have one. All right.
All right.
Alright.
2.
Three.
Okay. 3 and 4? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, got it. So the first round, we're gonna go like that. Second round, number 2 is gonna start. 2, 3, 4, and then 1 is last. Make sense? Okay.
You'll just have to tell us what we're doing.
Wait, what am I
One
doing?
more time on this.
I think you're
since
going up for 1 minute.
Am I going last or am I going first?
You're going first.
Okay.
And you got 1 minute, and then at 30 seconds, Amy's gonna tell you, and then at
Okay.
15 seconds to go, she's gonna hold a red.
All right.
All right?
Sit in here, do you want us to stand up? What do
I
you
think you should do whatever you wanna do.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jones,
just
mic.
watch that mic right there, yeah.
Good point.
My name's Matt Rowe. I'm running to be the Libertarian nominee for governor of the state of Oregon. I'll get into my motivations for running when we get into the 10-minute spiel. But my qualifications are, I previously had 2 terms as mayor of the city of Coquille, which is a very small town. It's the county seat of Coos County. But in that capacity, I worked with staff and the council to take a city that was into the red to the tune of about $500,000, which is a significant amount of money for a small town. Dealing with insufficient ability to cover utilities. By the time it was done, we paved more streets than we ever had before. We created sustainable timber policy as far as the hundreds of acres of timber we owned. And we did it, and we maintained our utilities without raising taxes. I was on the school board of post-COVID closures and got rid of pay-to-play for school sports. Thank you.
Representative Diehl?
All right. Hey, it's great to be here. My name is Diehl. I want to thank first my wife Jamie there. We are a team. She's my rock in the building. Some folks call us a power couple. I kind of like that. And I also want to thank everybody here who signed the referendum and who volunteered for the referendum. You made Oregon history. And I think we should continue to make Oregon history and elect the first Republican governor in 40 years. How's that sound? So you know me as a state representative, but here's a little more about me. I'm the son of a logger and a truck driver. I'm a husband and a father and a grandpa, and I'm almost out of time. But I'm an engineer and a businessman. I solve problems. I deliver results. I think the brightest Oregon is ahead of us. If we want to grab it, let's take back Oregon.
Commissioner Danielle Bethell.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here among all of you. The crowd feels like it doubled since this morning, so welcome to the afternoon of the last day in January. I'm Danielle Bethell. I'm a 5th generation Oregonian, and I can tell you that I'm standing on this stage today because I have struggled to raise a family, run a business, and run the 5th largest government in this state because we've had too much Democrat control for far too long. I climbed my way out of deep poverty. I've navigated homelessness and a lot of social issues, and I'm really proud of being an overcomer in a state that really wants me to be an undercomer. I have solutions to the problem Oregon faces today. I'm the boots on the ground candidate, and I look forward to meeting all of you over the next several weeks to show you how we can turn the tides in Oregon. Thank you.
Chris Dudley?
Hi, I'm Chris Dudley, and it's great to see so many familiar faces, and it's just great to be back here. And we saw many in 2010 when we did this before, and the situation that we face as Oregonians right now is even more dire than at that time. And I am passionate about what we need to do to change the situation here. I will give more when we talk longer and have our 10-minute talk. But I just, again, want to thank you, and thank you for being so active and what happened with the gas tax, getting everybody out there. The energy that I've seen and felt throughout this state is amazing, and it's energized me, and it makes me believe that we can get this done. I want to thank my family for being so supportive. As you know, we just announced Monday. It's been a crazy week, incredible energy, and my wife, who's a 5th generation Oregonian, unfortunately is not here tonight, but she gives her best to many people who she knows in the audience, and Sam, our son, who is a 6th generation Oregonian, is here, as well as others. So thank you, God bless, and looking forward to tonight, and thank you, Richard, for putting this on.
We do have a couple absent candidates that wanted to be here. Christine Drazen, we received a statement from her I'd like to read. Senator Drazen is in Roseburg and unable to join us today as she is traveling our entire state. She has promised that as governor, she will focus on cutting taxes, lowering costs, fixing our schools, ending homelessness, and taking on crime and holding government agencies accountable. Next. David Medina wished to participate in today's panel, but timing did not allow that opportunity for him. Those who wish to read his full statement can go to his social media channels. I picked out a section so that there was fair time. For over 8 years, I've been on the ground with Oregonians exposing corruption in our state, from government overreach to bias in the local media to confronting corruption embedded in our agencies and systems. I've seen firsthand how families, businesses, and communities are being displaced in silence and bullied for standing up for their values of life. This is no longer left versus right or Republican versus Democrat. It's about restoring integrity, accountability, and courage in leadership. So we're going to move on to a question for each candidate. They'll be the same. They have 10 minutes to answer this question. If they like, they can pose questions to other people on the panel during that time. I'm gonna read this question. So Oregon is facing serious challenges across multiple systems. The question, and Representative Diehl, you're number 2, correct?
Yes,
So you'll be first. So Oregon is facing serious challenges across multiple systems. What is your vision for a new direction for the state, and what would you prioritize as our new governor?
That's a great question. Thank you. So, we live in a beautiful state. The most beautiful state in the country, I believe. That's why I love it here. That's why I'm fighting for our state. We have beautiful rivers and streams. We have bountiful natural resources that are the envy of a lot of other states here. But what good is all that beauty if you can't afford to live here? What good is that if your streets aren't safe? What good is it if your kids can't get an education and businesses are fleeing? Governor Tina Kotek has built an Oregon that is in decline. It is unaccountable, unaffordable, and we're in an economic doom loop. That's not just me talking, that's the economists talking. But the thing is, it does not have to be that way. My vision for Oregon is very simple. I want an Oregon that is the greatest place to live and to work and to raise a family. And that is what I'm committed to deliver. I want an Oregon that is accountable, a government that's accountable, affordable for families, and not in decline, but an economy that is thriving. And that's what I'm committed to build for you. When it comes to government accountability, the first thing I'll do as governor is I'm going to call for a comprehensive audit of every one of those government agencies to understand exactly where every one of your tax dollars is going in every fund and sub-fund, and to make sure that we're accountable for it. I'm going to change the priorities of every agency to make sure they match the priorities of the Oregon people, because they don't. I'm going to pick on ODOT here for a while, okay? What's the top priority for ODOT right now? Equity, you win. Equity. And equity does not fix potholes. It doesn't make your roads safe, and it doesn't make your roads well maintained, but that is their number one priority. That will change when I am your governor, I guarantee it. If you look out that, I don't know if you can see it from this window, but if you go to the other end of the building, you can see the I-5 bridge. ODOT is designing a new bridge. They've been working on it for years. They spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and they haven't even done anything yet. They have designed a $15 to $17 billion boondoggle, in my opinion. That bridge, you can't even drive a ship underneath, not all the ships. It doesn't add a through lane, and it's a double-decker. It's a mess. If I was governor, the direction I would be giving ODOT is, you're gonna build a bridge that ships can go under, that adds a through lane in both directions, and that's done for under $5 billion. You know why? Because you can do it. And if they can't do it, I'll bring in the team that will. And I think that's the kind of direction we need and the business approach that I take when it comes to government. And that is my business experience and my engineering experience. You know, in Oregon, the governor is the superintendent of public education. And when I'm governor, we will straighten out our education system. We will get it back to basics. The basics. We gotta teach our kids how to read and write and do math, right? None of the woke stuff. Get that out of the schools, and that is my commitment to you. Also, we need an Oregon that is affordable for families. I will make sure we have free market housing. We're not going to spend billions of your tax dollars on subsidized housing and government housing. We're going to build free market housing. And we can do it affordably if we change some of our regulations. I'm going to lower taxes. And I'm also going to repeal some of the executive orders that are in place that are driving your energy costs through the roof. Okay? And I'm making a commitment to you right now. I will cap property tax rates for senior citizens. Okay? I saw a cheer back there. All right, I like that. Also, we need an economy that is thriving in this state. We need an economy that is thriving, and we can deliver that. We can deliver that. You know, if we get some of the government regulation out of the way, as governor, I will be visiting with businesses to encourage them to come to Oregon. But more importantly, I want to work with businesses in the state to remove the roadblocks to their success and prosperity. And that's the commitment I'm making to you. When it comes to permitting and permitting delays, I want to see a system, if there are delays, and this works in other states, by the way. If there are permitting delays that are excessive, they show up on my desk. And I resolve them. I deal with them. That's what other states do. Unfortunately, Governor Kotek doesn't do that. Also with agencies that throw roadblocks after roadblocks like DEQ. I've talked to businesses in Portland and businesses in Eastern Oregon. They all have the same issues with the DEQ. They have artificial criteria, and they delay projects. I've talked to a guy down in Southern Oregon. He's been trying to do a project for 17 years, and he hasn't been able to get it through. That will stop when I'm governor. They will be setting rules that make common sense, that maintain clean water and clean air. That's all we want, right? But rules that make common sense, and they will be directed not to drive for a no and roadblocks, but how do we get to yes? And how do we make progress in our state? Well, I'm committed to that, and I know we can make it work. Did everybody know that Oregon has a business development agency? Did you know that? It's Business Oregon? Okay. I didn't know that until I got in the legislature, and I'm in business, okay? Business Oregon, well, first off, Governor Kotek just recently realized, she's been speaker for 10 years, governor for 3 or 4 years, she just realized that prosperity is a priority. So she put a prosperity roadmap together. And I was in the Econ Development Committee, and we heard from Business Oregon and got a list of all the goals that they have for meeting that prosperity goal. I'm going to read a couple of these goals for you. Rebuild confidence through improved messaging and engagement. Foster collaboration between agencies. Yeah, I gotta tell you, these are not goals. When I'm governor, the goals will be something like this. Build 100,000 jobs in 4 years. Deliver $20 billion of equity, new capital equity into the state in 4 years. Those are real goals for economic development. These are bureaucratic BS. Okay? Turning Oregon around is going to take a lot of will and determination. I think it starts at the top. I know it starts at the top. I will bring the same determination that I brought to that referendum. I will bring that to the governor's office. And I'm committed to not only having an Oregon that is beautiful, that we love, but an Oregon where the citizens can thrive. Thank you very much. And if I have time, I'm happy to field questions from anybody.
You have so I did not call the, he has a couple minutes.
He's got two.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take a pause right now and just talk about these particular colors. So on the 10 minutes, in green, she'll hold it 5 minutes. Yellow, she'll hold it 2.5. That means you have 2.5 minutes left. And then red means you have 1 minute left. Representative Diehl has asked to yield his time to questions. If it's 2 minutes, it might be 1. If you ask it slowly.
Yeah, if it's a bad question, ask it really
Who
slowly.
am I supposed to pick? Do you want to pick who answers the question? Would you like to pick?
I'll pick that lady right there in purple.
I'd like to know, are you gonna get rid of sanctuary state status?
Boy, you dive into a real tough one.
So the question is, are you going
Yeah.
to get rid of sanctuary state status in Oregon?
So to me, it depends on which law you're talking about. Is it the law that was put in '85 and nobody paid attention to it, nobody gave a flip about it for 20-some years? Or is it what was put in by executive order by Governor Kate Brown in 2017 and then put in law, the Sanctuary Promise Act in 2021? So, yes. So my promise to you is, as governor, I will not defend and protect gang members, human traffickers, and child prostitution ringleaders. That is my commitment to you. I will make sure, and we can do this, I will make sure that our law enforcement is cooperating to get the bad guys out of our state. That's what we want. It is possible. What happened in 2017 by executive order, and then it was put into law in 2021 for the most part, is a law that prohibits, draws a hard line between law enforcement and the federal system to where they cannot cooperate. I will do everything in my power via executive order to restore that. And I'll tell you what, if I was governor in the first place, ICE wouldn't have to come here, okay? They would not be here, we would be cooperating, we would get the bad guys out of here, the temperature would go down, this wouldn't even be a problem in Oregon. Thank you.
I'm going to reread the question for you. Oregon is facing serious challenges across multiple systems. What is your vision for a new direction for the state, and what would you prioritize as governor of Oregon?
Thank you for reading it again. I just wanted to make sure I heard all the points because I've been talking about this for 6 years. As a sitting Marion County Commissioner, if you're bored, you can verify this by going back to YouTube and watching Marion County Commissioner Board meetings that occur on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. Every single county in this state is suffering, and there's over 200 cities in Oregon that are also suffering, and that includes Portland, even though they make their own choices very publicly. There are 87 state agencies that the governor oversees. Not a single one of those state agencies actually works with local elected leaders across this state. 36 counties that run land use, transportation, behavioral health, environmental services, a variety of things. It's the same thing that the governor does every single day. And they do everything they can at the state level to make sure that there is not a partnership or a structure of government that works effectively for Oregonians by community. I was the president of the Association of Oregon Counties in 2024 and had the privilege of crossing every single border in this state, going into every single county, talking to every single county commissioner, whether they were Democrat, Independent, which we all know they're not, or Republican, and asking them what's going on in your community and how can I lead you statewide for outcomes in the legislature. My job is to bring people together as a county commissioner. The greatest power I have today is to convene and to listen, and then take what I heard and create solutions all the way to the federal government if that's what needs to be done. I can tell you exactly why things are going wrong in this state, county by county. In the Department of Education, I served 4 years on the second largest school board in Oregon. I can tell you what's happening in transportation. I can tell you what's happening in environmental services. I can tell you what's happening in behavioral health. And you all know because you walk the streets of Oregon every day, just like me in your community, where people are failing forward in a system that does not care about them. I actively engage in a plan every day today in the 5th largest county. 350,000 people live in Marion County. I have the privilege of showing up for them and fighting against the state really aggressively. Marion County is the only county in Oregon that's ever sued the governor. I've sued Kate Brown, and now I'm suing Tina Kotek, and I'll do it again if I have to, because by God, I'm gonna be heard as an Oregonian. We need a plan. Marion County and Clackamas County, as some of you heard this earlier today, are the only two counties in Oregon that are thriving in the behavioral health space. We're governed predominantly by conservative-minded people who believe in humanity. When we deliver behavioral health services in both of those counties, which are pretty large, we do it with a human focus. We run recovery-oriented systems of care with accountability. We take local taxpayer dollars, we take state taxpayer dollars and federal dollars, and we blend them together to produce outcomes that save people's lives. They reunite families, and they stabilize our community because it gets people off the system long-term. In the education system, you're gonna hear it likely from every single one of these candidates, the whole thing needs to be reformed. I'm a mom of 3 kids, I have 2 granddaughters, and I can tell you right now, it's terrifying for me to think that my 3-year-old granddaughter in the future might step into a public school in Oregon, and I'm doing everything I can to make sure that doesn't happen under the current structure. Government should be run from the bottom up, not the top down. It's not that difficult to trust elected leaders in your community. In fact, every single one of you in here should know who your city councilors are, who your county commissioners are, who your state reps are, who your senators are, because we all know who the governor is. But the people I mentioned before that are the people who are impacting your lives the most, but for sure at the local level. As governor, I assure you that local elected leaders will have a voice in this state. I don't have to agree with you to partner with you. This isn't about me, it's about you. It's about my kids, it's about my neighbors. It's about the long-term impact that we all want to thrive through. In my job in the last 6 years, I have had to go 5 miles deep into the system to understand why it's such a dumpster fire here in Oregon. I'm not a mile wide and an inch deep girl. I show up to do the work. I show up to talk about the hard things, the things that I have navigated and the things that I have performed, because I'm proud of that work. And I'm frankly proud to see as many people in this room as there are, because I didn't think there'd be that many that come all the freaking way up here to Portland to listen to us talk. But at the end of the day, it's super important that we have a leader that's going to show up and understand that system. Some of the things I'm going to do that are going to be pretty frustrating to the West Coast is decouple us from this West Coast interagency agreement that we have between governors. I don't know why California and Washington needs to have a say as to what I'm doing in this state. There are partnerships that need to exist. I don't know if y'all know this, but we have an energy crisis on our hands. Nobody can afford their rates today, and it's only going to get worse, and it's because the policies that are being made in the state of Washington. Most of us complain about how much we have to pay, but you don't understand what the origin of that is. Well, I understand the origin of that, and I need to be a good partner, but I don't need to be dictated to by my peers in other states. I want to make sure the behavioral health system of care is functional. Behavioral health, just for those of you who might not know, is addiction and mental health together. It's run at the local level in counties. It's not run at the state level. I want to gut the Oregon Health Authority and give the power back to counties who are the statutory mental health and public health authorities in our state. I want to make sure that the transportation system is stable. I don't know if you know this, but counties in Oregon have more roads per mile per geographic area than the state has total in their entire portfolio. I have to deal with roads and bridges and potholes too, but I have to deal with it within my means, because I have to do it with the percentage that they allocate me from the gas tax at the state level. And I'm not a tax-forward politician, so I'm not raising taxes to make sure that I can live within my means. It's really important that we structure government and the formulas that are delivered in the legislature are honored and executed with plan, not with reaction. I'm going to tackle the land use system. Everybody in here probably has heard of what an urban growth boundary is and what a freaking nightmare it is to do any kind of development in this state because of it. That doesn't mean that I want property taxes to be raised. It means that local communities who need to understand progress needs to happen with a plan. It shouldn't be forced on me from the state. One of the executive orders that I'm very excited to be able to sign is to get rid of the Climate-Friendly Equitable Committee action plan that was forced on us through the Department of Land Conservation and Development. I live in a farming community. Marion County is the largest ag-producing county in the state, 2,500 small farms. If you think that they don't care about the soil they grow their dirt on, then I don't know why you're living in Oregon. We shouldn't be telling them how to farm. We should be asking them how we can help them thrive. The backbone of that is our economy. We're going to hear a lot over the next several months about what does it mean to have a thriving economy, and it comes across many sectors in Oregon. And I'm excited to make sure that we can make every one of them thrive by inviting people to the table with their brilliant ideas to execute outcomes. We need to invest in young people. We need to produce jobs. We need to help small businesses afford the $15 minimum wage. How do you do that? Well, there's programs that exist in this state to help businesses subsidize that, unless we can get the legislature to walk it back, which I think would be a great idea. Thank you. And at the end of the day, it's going to be my responsibility to work with every single elected official in this state. Like I said when I started, I don't have to agree with you to talk to you. I don't have to agree with you to hear you. I do have to be present and willing. I want to learn and I want to execute and I want Oregon to thrive, and I believe that I'm the leader that can make that happen on day one. Thank you.
Is it me?
Yes.
All right.
You ready for me to repeat the question?
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Okay.
I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start a little bit by giving my background, and I think it's important as all of us as candidates. By the way, we have great candidates.
Yes.
And we do.
Yes.
And that's something to be proud of. And I'm, like I said earlier, I'm so thrilled to see this many people in the room, because there's so much that we have to do, so much energy that we have to do to change the state. And we're gonna agree, for the most part, on our policy positions. But I think your character, who you're electing matters, and winning matters. And we need to win to change and take back this state. And so let me start by just kind of giving you a little bit of my background. And because I think, to me, leadership is a combination of empathy and accountability. It's being able to relate to the problems that are in front of us, many of which we have talked about, what people are dealing with. As I walked earlier this week in Old Town in Portland, and you see people strung out on fentanyl, when you see people lying on the streets, or when I'm talking as I travel the state, talking with moms who have fourth graders, they don't want to hear about the 10-year education plan. They want to change it, they want to change it now. And so I think having that empathy and that relatability matters. And then, of course, accountability. The executive experience to see solutions, see problems, see solutions, and execute those solutions. So my background is this, and I'll be relatively brief, but I came from a background, and I feel fortunate that my mom taught me growing up to respect others, and to not judge another person till you've walked a mile in their shoes. And I think that's really important in today's world. And I came from a place where my grandfather immigrated to this country through Hungary, came through Ellis Island, and I would visit him every summer and stay with him. And every morning we would go outside, he would raise the American flag and have me say the Pledge of Allegiance. And he would tell me how great this country is. And then my grandfather on the other side joined in World War II, joined the military at age 40. He too would tell me how great this country is and that it was worth fighting for. So start from there. And then when growing up, I grew up from a family of educators. And it wasn't always easy. I still remember you had to look for a certain strength of cardboard to be able to shove into your shoe, because I had holes in my shoes when I was playing ball and doing different things. I remember the pain my mom was in when our car broke down and we're living month to month and she didn't know how she was going to pay for it. That stuff matters, and Oregonians are suffering throughout this state. And I think that experience of hard work is important. It started for me at age 12, delivering papers, getting up at 5 in the morning, throwing the paper, collecting, and earning the power of earnership, the power of doing a good job, getting rewarded for that good job. I think that's very important. It's something that's sometimes lost today. And I worked all through high school, whether it was tuning cars or mowing lawns or whatever it was. I worked through college as well. And I was probably the only player ever to go into the NBA who had to pay off a college loan. And I know I was the first player in the NBA. I got type 1 diabetes when I was 16, which at that time said that you couldn't succeed, you couldn't play sports, you couldn't do this. But I said, no, you can. And I went on to play 16 years in what I believe, biased, the toughest sport the toughest sport there is, toughest league there is for 16 years. And then when I came out of college and I made it as a late round draft pick, I wasn't expected to make it, I was a 4th round pick. I was fortunate to be able to play for 16 years. And 6 of those, of course, here in Portland, brought me to Portland in 1993. That's where I fell in love with Oregon. Thank you. Those were good times. And that's where I met my wife, my wife of 28 years. And I think executive experience is important as well. Political, there's different types of experience, but I think having experience away from politics is important as well, and having executive experience. I was in economics in Yale, got my CFP. Personally, I think it matters that you understand economics when you're trying to run the economy for your state. I think I formed a small business, was a partner in a wealth management company, founder of a wealth management company based here in Oregon. Then I went on and was chairman of the board and CEO of a medical device company in Beaverton. I also ran a foundation for kids with diabetes for 30 years. I think those things matter. So why am I here? Why am I running for governor? Well, as you know, I would get asked all the time, and it was always, when are you going to run? Because I was in the closest election in the past 70 years. When are you going to run? My wife asked me, and I honored that wish, that I not run again until my kids were out of high school. And now they're young adults, and I'm proud to say that they're living here. They're here in Oregon. They're 6th generation Oregonians, and we're hoping soon, not too soon because my son's in the back, soon to have 7th generation Oregonians. And I'm passionate, and it literally pit in my stomach when I see that we're 50th in education for 4th grade. Portland's ranked 80th out of 81 for cities where to invest. Oregon's 47th for job creation. This has to stop, and it has to stop now. We have to get energized, we have to take care of this, and we have to change things right now. Now, the good news is there are solutions out there. There are solutions on education. There's ways other states have gone through this. Mississippi went from 47th to 5th simply by adopting the science of learning, phonics. And it's a way of educating our kids. We can do better. Our economy can be better. The first step is do no harm. Everywhere I go, I talk to businesses. The thing they talk about, the first step is, please, no more taxes, no more regulations. We don't know what's coming next. We don't know what's coming out of this next session. Stop it. First step is do no harm. Then it's look at our tax structure, look at our regulations. And again, it's been done in other places. You look at a place like British Columbia. For every new regulation, 2 come out. There's ways of doing this. It's often talked about at the high end that Portland has the 2nd highest rate, personal income tax rate in the country, next to Manhattan. But what's often forgotten is that we have the highest personal income tax rate in the country for our working class, bar none. That's on J1. I want to lower the burden of the tax rate for working class Oregonians. We have to make Oregon affordable. We have to do that, and we have to do it immediately. And then the last piece, and I'll talk about this later because I see the time starting to go, but we have to win. We have to win. We have to have a message that resonates across party lines, that you can connect with people. And what excites me so much are 2 things, really 3 things. One, the energy here with the gas tax, which across the board. I remember being up with Rodney Cooper up in Sisters, or down here in Portland, or when I was in Redmond at the petitions, and people were lining up to sign, and they weren't all Republicans. There were unaffiliated independents, Democrats. They all said enough is enough, and they don't like the system. And across the state, I've felt, as I've talked to people, that there's a grand sense that we're united in our love of our state. It is the most beautiful state in the country. Bar none. Bar none. It is an incredibly beautiful place. But there's also a united feeling that what we're doing is simply not working, and it has to change, and it has to change quickly. Now, now, I will say the energy from the gas tax showed, that gas tax showed the energy that's out there. The other piece that is often overlooked, and I was with a group last night, we did an event with young Republicans, is that this Gen Z, and I've got a few myself, the 18 to 24 is considered the most conservative generation in 60 years. Yes, you can definitely clap, yeah. We need to tap into that. We need to get that energy going right there, and we can do it. And I will say, this situation reminds me a little bit of the last time I ran. When I ran the last time, I heard the Republicans were down, they hadn't won, and there was super minorities in both houses, and so on and so on. And over time, we got that energy going. We got people excited. We had a message. We focused on core issues. It doesn't matter what party you're from. You want your education. You want a vibrant economy. You want livability. We want safe streets. There's no reason we should have, and I've gotten to the point where I'm calling it poison. We've got to get poison off our streets. Forget anti-drug, anti-poison. Stuff that you take once, 2, 3 times, and will literally kill you. Literally kill you. And so we have to get that off our streets. And if you have message that resonates across party lines that everybody can get behind, we can take back this state, and we have to do so now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were great. It was
Okay.
fun. It was subtle. Matt, please.
Yep. Legs falling asleep.
Leg was falling asleep.
Watch the microphone.
Woo! This thing? All right.
Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering, why in the hell is this guy crazy enough to be running as a third-party candidate for governor? I'll tell you why. And it may not be the most popular thing to hear in this room. But I assure you, and you will see this throughout this campaign, I will speak in front of friendly audiences and unfriendly audiences, and I will say the same thing. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you how the facts are as far as I see them, and the way I would solve the problems of this state according to my best judgment. I understand it's a long shot. I would also argue being the nominee of a party that hasn't won since 1982, despite millions and millions of dollars, is also a long shot. So I would ask you to have an open mind, but if not, that's fine. But I think it's vitally important when we look at what has happened to this state, and I say this after 20 years, one way or the other, serving in elected office, working in journalism, or in consulting and public policy analysis, that confidence in this state is at an all-time low. Because fundamentally, expectations have failed to be met. Why do states exist? States exist because of community commonality, aspirations, values, social structures. Today, Oregon really is almost 3, 4 states in one. You've got the metro, you've got the east, you got the southern coast, you got the Willamette Valley, and then you've got all points in between. And fundamentally, they all really can't agree on much of what they want. The Democrats want a one-size-fits-all policy. And I'm not going to pick on anybody here. They haven't said anything definitively about a one-size-fits-all policy. But when I hear, we're going to get the woke out of the schools, that sounds like the lefties who were saying they were going to get bigotry out of the schools. I'm not going to trade one jackbooted master for another. And I think the governor of this state ought to stand up for the rights of every Oregonian and their free rights. And the communities ought to decide their own curriculum. I say, and I can say this with confidence as a former school board member, and I know Commissioner Bethell was on the school board, that parents tend to know what's best for their kids. Whether it's woke in the Portland suburbs or radically conservative where I come from, part of the reason we have lost the commonality and community of this state. Oregon doesn't feel the same anymore. It hasn't for a long time. We used to be able to set aside our disagreements beyond the political to a general sense of an appreciation of, don't tread on me, I won't tread on you. Now it's become, you tread on me, I'm going to tread on you and your family. But why did I decide to do this? There were 2 reasons. One, she's not here, Christine Drazen, and along with my former colleague in the Mayor's Association, Lori Chavez-DeReamer, cheerled sending troops in violation of the law into our largest city. I understand you may not like to hear that, but if it was the Biden troops, I would have said the same thing. And yet I hear praising this. And I know for a fact, the same people who said COVID was tyranny, lockdowns were tyranny, and I agree, I fought it on a school board. Now, have no problem with mass cops going into your house without a warrant. Extrajudicial killings. No problem whatsoever with martial law without even a legal declaration whatsoever. I understand they may disagree. I think the simple solution is that to rebuild confidence in this state, we need a governor who will enforce the law regardless of ideological prejudices, regardless of whose gang is in the White House. You know, and look, I used to be a Republican. I hear the old spiel, Tom McCall. You always hear the Republicans pull out Tom McCall in campaign time, or at least he used to. Tom McCall would tell President Trump to go straight to hell. And the fact of the matter is, Oregonians, 63%, want a governor who will tell him to go straight to hell. You're going to have a real difficult time selling them that any Republican who can make it through that primary is going to have the courage to say that. Maybe they will. I don't know. I don't know them as people. I hope they will. But the fact of the matter is, Christine Drazen, Lori Spez-DeReamer, the other crew, you know, the same guys who sent the folks at the mall here when they occupied that by force with guns were patriots and they were executed by the FBI. ICE are now heroes. Mass cops are heroes. Warrantless entry is totally acceptable. The Second Amendment is now in question. Now, by the way, I'm about as strong on the Second Amendment as you can get, and more importantly, the Oregon Constitution is far more pro-gun than the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
And I'll be a governor who, if some mass thug, regardless of if it's a Republican administration or a Democratic administration, kills one of my citizens without identification, without due process, I will order the state police to arrest that person. I would have state police contingents around the federal government, these agents, because they are not immune, despite what the supposed legal experts in the Trump administration say. States actually have laws. They have policing powers. Our citizens have rights. And they can't be situational. The people of Oregon have said in the polls overwhelmingly, affordability is an issue. One, I applaud Mr. Dudley, and I'm sure everybody up here wants to cut the income tax for working people. But 1% off of that ain't gonna pay for health insurance going up at 10% per annum. It isn't gonna keep up with the rents. I hear market-oriented housing policies. I've heard that, and I mean, the Democrats say they're for it too. Total joke, they've spent billions. Kotek spent billions on building, what, 1,000 houses? We're spending $125,000 on every addiction bed. I have the sneaking suspicion there might be some leakage involved here. You know, if you look at history, the simplest way to build housing is to just do it. If you need to build housing, especially for the poor and the into the working class, the market doesn't want to do it because it's a pain in the ass to create the housing, go through the process, deal with the federal laws and the tenants and the payment structures and all of that. We should just develop housing funded through bonds. The bonds will be serviced by rent-to-own payments from the tenants who would be in self-governing communities. It would create generational wealth, it would create future tax bases, and it would self-liquidate. And then you incentivize the creation of middle-class housing through the private sector by giving a tax exemption for 10 years on income derived from new units that are at that mid and lower income level. Waive the SDCs, which are crippling the creation of multi-family housing units and multiple unit housing. And then also give a property tax break for 10 years. I believe that would give enough incentive for people to do the work that needs to be done. And if not, then we'll have to explore other options. But there is no ideologically pure answer to this. Polling says most Republicans have lost confidence in the private healthcare system. Somebody who just lost my father to prostate cancer, who's got a mom who's a quadriplegic. I lost confidence in it a long time ago. My son was born a couple months early. $190,000 bill with insurance. You can't tell me this is a just system. There are some things that maybe shouldn't be for profit. I feel like manufacturing arms, because there's too much of an incentive in waging war. And your health might be some issues where there's an ethical question beyond profit, beyond philosophy. I think there are many things we can explore. But one thing that really must be examined is expand, because we can't keep up with 10% rate increases. The governor appoints the insurance commissioner. If I do become governor, I know it's a long shot. I'll put in an insurance commissioner who will approve 0 increases for the next 2 immediate years, 0%. Then cap it at 5%. And in that time, combined with a tax on health insurers and what I call deadbeat employers, the Walmarts, the Fred Meyers, the people who pay all their workers poverty wages in half time and then dump them on the Oregon Health Plan. Dump them on food stamps. They have you subsidize it. You hit them with a tax. You make them actually pay. And you do that, and you expand eligibility of the Oregon Health Plan, $350 a month for individual, maximum. If you're under the average income, it's 0. Families, $500. If you roll in state employees into that, especially what teachers are paying into their premiums and other public employees, the thing would operate at a profit. And we would have better health outcomes, healthier Oregonians. So let me say, for a freer, healthier, happier Oregon, please consider voting for Matt Rowe. But
Matt, you're good.
thank you.
Yeah. Let's give our gubernatorial candidates a big warm round of applause. Thank you. Will you guys stand up for me? You guys are going to be sprinting through the primary. The Libertarian primary is a little bit different, doing a lot of work. May God bless this state.